something you brought up earlier is you said you love 4 minute matches, and that's something I can totally understand because sometimes I think like you put a 5 minute match and it can just be as thrilling and exciting as anything. Do you think independent wrestling? Because I don't obviously I'm from New England, so I don't know for sure what all the SoCal scene's like, but in general, do you think more indie wrestling could use enhancement matches, squash matches, short matches to get people over, and for young guys just to get 2 minutes of being in front of a crowd without necessarily having to work.
Yes. And I think it's scary. And the reason it doesn't happen is because like most of these companies, they only run once a month. So
Mhm.
they have this small, fine, this tiny chunk of time that costs them a lot and they have to make the most of.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, I'm paying this guy $200. So he's got to be out there at least 12 minutes to make this worth it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so it just leads to longer and longer matches. But honestly, like, I think something I loved about being at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood was getting to book it like the TV that I liked.
Yeah.
I was like, no, like we used to have such a like flat kind of pattern for matches on that show. I was like, we don't have to. I was like, I can trust Watts to do a 2 minute squash.
Mhm.
I was like, I can trust him to do that. We can bleed right into the first six of the next match of the actual main event. I was like, I can trust these guys to do that. And, but on indies, it's hard if you're like, okay, we're doing this and this, and these students are getting a 2 minute match today or a 4 minute match today. That's it. And there's three of those on the card, like we're gonna sprinkle them in. And I know that sounds risky, like, oh, why would you throw them out there? I mean, fuck, you gotta get out there sometime.
Yeah.
Ideally with someone that can hold their hand a little bit, but even then it's like, oh well, why do I have to be the guy in the 4 minute match? Like there's always gonna be ego that gets in the way, but it sucks because I think a lot of younger guys and girls and students, like I think they suffer from that not getting that chance. Because man, like I love seeing NWA. There's a lot of those matches are shorter,
Yeah.
and you can check out a young local kid that's working hard in a match like that, and it puts them in front of a crowd that maybe they haven't been in front of ever before, or a crowd like that. I mean, again, there's risks to it, but there's also benefits.
I think from a fan's perspective too, there's a certain flow that I love a great 20-minute match. It's great. That's what pro wrestling is. I sometimes I don't want to see 3 hours of 20-minute matches. Sometimes I want to see, have a great, 15-minute opener, then, have a 6 minute match, then have a 2 minute match, then have a 15-minute match. For me, it's the up and downs that I enjoy, where sometimes it can just be too much if it's just 3 hours of great matches.
Yeah, honestly, like it's people say, oh, there's no such thing as too much of a good thing, but I mean, there can be, like especially because those longer matches naturally by modern design are gonna have, more near falls. They have more time to have more near falls.
Yeah.
So the near falls feel less impactful in the next match because that match had four, so it's like those longer matches can really hurt the ones before and after them, and I don't know. Yeah, long matches like that can be too much. But then I think you're right too. I mean, I think an indie crowd would probably be like, "What the hell?" If a
Yeah.
4 minute match happened,
But then I
they'd
also
be like,
think like,
"Oh,
if you have a match end in 2 minutes from a roll up, suddenly a roll up means a lot more in every other match on the show. So
That too, that too. And then and it also leaves an open end. Like, oh man, oh, that guy beat him by a roll up. We're probably going to hear about that next show.
yeah, and you can do a
And
rematch.
it wouldn't have had that impact really if it may not have been quite that short.
Yeah.